KJ, would you like to lead off when it comes to pick six since you are the guest of the show?
Well, thank you. I'll curtsy. I'm taking the Mavs money line over the Jazz plus 170. I think the Jazz are super. I'm sorry. I think the Mavs are super undervalued in this series. When they acquired Spencer Dinwiddie, they found someone who could play along Luka. I think that was the issue. Was Luka wants the ball and could he get along? It didn't work out with Porzingis. You know, unicorns aren't real, and it looks like Porzingis' career is not coming out to be real. But Spencer Dinwiddie is kind of like this lunch bucket, blue collar, played with superstars when he was with the Nets, spent a half a second in Washington, and now knows how to play off of a superstar. They are a very dangerous combination. And for the Jazz, who seem to somehow lay it down when the playoffs come, in this opening game, I'm going to take the Mavs in the upset, plus 170.
Yeah, would be a big upset, but I think that's the series that most people are not super excited to watch, with the
Yep,
exception of if Luca plays. Clearly, he's one of the faces of the NBA. But the
right.
Jazz are always underrated. I feel like not a ton of people follow them, although the Jazz have been particularly bad down the stretch, or at least worse than I thought they were.
Yes,
The Jazz are a
yes.
great team at home, but it is a little different when you go on the road because I think they have such a great home court advantage because of the elevation
Yep.
in Salt Lake City. I don't know if you've ever been to Salt Lake City, but it is different. It's
I
harder to breathe, and we've
Yeah,
seen people struggle there.
yeah. Denver, that whole mountain time thing. It's the time that people ignore in America. Like Central, Eastern, Pacific. Oh yeah, like there's a mountain time. So when they come off of the mountain, you're absolutely right. They become mere mortals. They're not 5,000 feet in the air, making you huff and puff. And again, like I said, I think this Mavs team is dangerous, and they know how to hold teams to low point totals. That's why that point total is 209.5, because the Mavs are very good at holding people down in numbers. So I like the Mavs in this game.
I think my first pick six play is going to be the Grizzlies at home laying the 6.5. I wanted to take them in the first half because the Grizzlies have been the best team in the NBA in the first half, covering the number at 51, 25, and 1, especially good at home, 27-11. But guess who's the second best team against the spread in the NBA in the first half? It is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They
Yep.
are right behind the Grizzlies and a touch worse on the road at 21-17-1. But in the long stretch of the game, I think the better team is going to cover the number here. And the Grizzlies, they're so deep and so sound and so good on both sides of the ball because I know the Timberwolves can score and they can run and gun with the best of the teams, and they certainly can keep up that pace with the Grizzlies. However, they play a little bit more loose. They have more turnovers. They don't have the defense that the Grizzlies have. They don't have guys like Jaren Jackson Jr., who is one of the premier shot blockers in the NBA. So I'll take the team who I think is the better overall team. It is a large point spread, but we're not talking about a game where points are coming at a premium. The total's 234.5, so they're expecting a lot of points. I think the Grizzlies can cover this number, not easily, but I do think they can cover the 6.5. So pick six, round two. Now it's on to you. What is your next pick in this
I'm gonna.
segment?
I've got another upset. I've got Denver winning the money line. Taking the money line at 220 against the Warriors in Game One. How do you stop Nikola Jokic if you're the Warriors? You don't have size. He's a size guy who can run the floor. He distributes. He rebounds. Steph Curry is coming back, and Steph Curry can tend to be cold when he's been off for a considerable amount of time. While other pieces have picked up, Klay Thompson has come along nicely. Draymond Green has returned from an extended absence. I think Jokic, he makes a serious case for the MVP because without him, Denver is not in the playoffs. I seriously believe, and I think that'll be on display in that game, especially in Game One. There'll be an upset, and I like the value at plus 220, even though they're not favored. The line the spread isn't close, but I believe that Denver wins this game.
I think I will be either playing the Nuggets in the first half or on the spread for the full game because now they're getting at 6.5 points. And listen, three of these four matchups this regular season, the Nuggets have beaten the Warriors outright. So I
Yes.
do think that they can keep it close in this one. I'm not sure if the Warriors are tuned up enough because I know
Yeah.
how exciting and how good the Golden State Warriors can be, but sometimes there's a little rust there. And we've seen this with the Warriors teams in the past. Sometimes the urgency isn't there and they don't get going till the second half, or they're not winning these games by a wide margin. So I think I will go with the Nuggets plus 6.5 in the full game, just because I haven't looked up the first half spreads for Denver. But we've seen Denver kind of fade down the stretch in some of these games. I think they can keep it close, especially in game one, where Nikola Jokic isn't worn down just yet. So that's
Yeah.
my second play. What's your final play of the pick six?
All right, my final play is the Celtics money line against the Nets. Yeah, I'm a bit homer. There's really no value at minus 190. They're expected to win, but this is going to be the most exciting series in the opening round. Um, you're going to probably see a lot of hard fouls, and because of that, I buy that 4.5 is going to be pretty close to that. It's going to be skin of teeth, but I believe that the Celtics will cover. So I, look, to try and be as neutral as possible. KD is going to get his. Kyrie is going to be. He's going to have trouble with Marcus Smart. So it's just a matter of can the Nets utilize Andre Drummond in the paint? Even though Bruce Brown, who's a local Boston kid, who's publicly said after the Nets game when they won their playing game that there is no Robert Williams, who's out at least potentially until game 5 of this series. He missed the end of the regular season, but now there's reports from ESPN saying that he could be back as early as game 5 in this series. Al Horford and Daniel Tice are going to have their hands full. And if you cannot get Andre Drummond in foul trouble early, then I could see where someone would take the play and see the value in the Nets. But I'm going with the Celtics. I believe they'll carry this. And I see this probably about a 5-point, 6-point game.
Celtics aren't going to be my play here, but I do side with you on the Celtics. I think they're the more complete team, the team that I am more likely to trust with my money because the Nets have this tremendous upside. And if Kyrie and KD are locked in, it's incredibly hard to stop that offense because it's strength on weakness here. We know that the Celtics have probably the best defense in the NBA, but
Yes.
when you're talking about the cream of the crop shooters, it doesn't matter how great your defense is when you have guys like KD who can shoot threes, easy money sniper right in your face. But getting to my final pick of the pick six, I'm going to go with the Hawks. And I know that we're going head to head on this one, but I'll lay the 4.5 with Atlanta here on the road. I know their road stats have not been the best, but this is the postseason. We've heard from Trae Young saying sometimes he's a little bored during the regular season. I think he really turns it on here. We saw him come off cold in the first game against Charlotte, but his career numbers haven't been good against Charlotte. So we kind of knew that was coming. I don't think we see a bad game from him again. And plus, despite him coming off with a terrible first half, this Hawks team was up by a comfortable margin. It's been the rest of the team picking up the slack. So Clint Capella has really chipped in. I think he had a double-double in the first half of that game against Charlotte. Kevin Herter, Red Velvet, had 3 threes in the first quarter of that game. So, yeah, defensively, it's going to be a tougher matchup against the Cavs. But these two teams, I believe, are trending in different directions. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope Jarrett Allen does not play so Clint Capella can go off. But yeah, I'll be laying the 4.5 with the Hawks. And I know you hate that play.
Yeah, Chelsea, I wonder if the lines makers see what I potentially may see. Is if the Hawks are shoo-in, then why is it only 2.5? I would expect that number to be four
Oh,
and a
it's
half.
gone to 2.5? That's been a
Yeah,
big change, right? Wasn't it 4.5?
yeah. So that's exactly. So I believe that they kind of have a feeling that the Cavs, again, remember the Cavs are the higher seed in this game, that the
Correct.
Cavs will pull money from a lot of people who want to bet Atlanta, right? Like you see Atlanta, you see Cleveland, it doesn't really look sexy on paper. But I think the X factor that still remains for Cleveland is Kevin Love. I've always said that what really makes NBA games is when the whistle blows and the substitutes come in. Who's coming into the game? And if you're Atlanta, you're not really putting a lot of scoring out there. Maybe Gallinari can get you a couple of points. I mean, well, I think they start him now and they switched him Bogdanovich, but Bogdanovich could get cold. But Kevin Love is a multi-time All-Star. This guy was on the dream team. Well, they weren't a dream, but he's been on the NBA Olympic team. This guy's he's won a title. They're in Cleveland. So that leadership's going to show up. And I think the money people know this. That's why I'm going with Cleveland in the plus 115. There's value there. If they think it's going to be a close game, then my question would be is why wouldn't it go to the home team if it's going to be a close game?
Ooh, I like that. I know the money is saying that the Cavs are probably the play since it's moved from 4.5 to 2.5, but I will take that 2.5. Do that for me instead of the 4.5 because now it's a one possession cover for me. So definitely love that a lot more.